Hello everyone, welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I'm Kiki.
And we are back with The Little Princess and the Poet. I'm Mike, and I also have to tell you the truth, Kiki, I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous, Mike?
I'm worried about the poet. He's gone to the palace. No one was interested in listening to his poems. Maybe because he's not handsome. In the story, they said he's ugly. But also his poems weren't entertaining anyone until he got to the palace. And the princess, the little princess who lives there, who is blind, she heard his voice and she wants to meet him. Now this is good,
right?
But I'm afraid that something bad will happen once he goes into the palace. Am I crazy?
I don't know. Okay, it is scary right now because of the guards, right?
Yes.
But she's a little princess.
Yeah.
I'm sure she has some say in who she wants to invite into the palace.
Sure, she's the princess, but we have not met her father and mother, the king and queen. And isn't there often an evil stepmother, an evil queen, or a cruel king in these stories?
Well, I really hope not, because I think that it's not really nice to judge the poet based on his look.
Of course not, and he has a beautiful voice.
Right, and I think that's what's appealing to the princess.
I think this is good too. I'm just afraid someone's gonna come along and bring trouble to their new friendship. Well, the only way to find out is to read the story. So we're gonna read the story, and if I cover my eyes or ask Kiki for a hug later on, you'll know it's because I'm just too nervous. I'm worried about the poet, but we have to go on, so I hope it's happy. In the palace, the king and queen were with 45 other poets. They were actually princes, and they hoped to marry the princess. The poet told them a poem about the poor, and everyone was surprised.
Welcome back to part 2 of The Little Princess and the Poet. And we last left off with the poet at the gate with the guards.
That's right.
They said, nope, you're too ugly to come in.
They did not want to let the poet into the palace.
But the princess heard his beautiful, beautiful voice.
She did. She had the window open. Remember, she's blind, so she didn't see the poet, but she heard him, I guess, talking to the guards and thought, oh, what a lovely voice that young man has. I must meet with him. And so that got the poet into the palace. Some good luck, we think.
So let's find out what happens after he enters the palace.
Okay.
In the palace, the king and queen were with 45 other poets.
There are 45 other poets at the palace today?
What is going on?
It's Poet-palooza.
No wonder the villagers told him to go to the palace.
Oh, there's a big poet meeting there. Weird. Okay, maybe they're trying to find an official poet, and this is like an audition, like a tryout, like a job interview.
Maybe.
Who knows? That's very interesting. A lucky time, maybe,
to be a poet.
For our poet to be there too, with 45 other poets.
Let's find out what these poets were doing there.
Let's find out.
They were actually princes.
Poet princes. Or prince poets. Either way.
And they hoped to marry the princess.
Oh.
That's what they were doing there.
Okay, so to try to get a date with the beautiful princess, all the young princes from around this palace come there to try to read a poem, sound very nice, get a lucky chance to go on a date with the princess. We know that these are special young men because they are princes. And remember, we have a princess in the story. that is the daughter of a king or queen. A prince is the son of a king or queen. So if a king and queen have a little boy, that boy is now a prince, and eventually he might grow up to become the king someday. So these are not your average handsome young men. These are actually important young men.
That's right.
And they hope to marry the princess.
Right. And we have to remember that the prince and princess, they come from different royal families.
Right, yes.
So the royal families, they always want their children, the prince and the princess, they want them to get married so they can build their kingdom.
Yeah, that's the way it used to be for sure.
Right. Yes. So what does it mean to marry?
Right. To marry is just to meet someone, to fall in love, and to want to spend the rest of your life together. Now, you can do that without marrying someone, but sometimes people will choose to go through a special ceremony. They might do it in a church or in a temple for their religion. They might have a big dinner, a big party, a big banquet, invite all their friends and family and loved ones, and sort of stand up in front of them and say, we love each other, we will be together, we might have a family with children, but it's kind of like, I found my true love and I will spend my life with them, and we want everyone to know and be happy for us. So that's nice. So there we go. That's the chance that these princes are looking for, the chance to marry the princess. Now, what about the poet? He's not a prince.
No.
He's just a young, not very handsome poet. Well, let's get back to the story. It says the poet told them a poem about the poor, and everyone was surprised. Interesting. So I guess he's telling this poem to all the people there, the king, the queen, the princess, and all of the other princes. And of course, it's not your usual poem they would hear. I guess normally they hear poems of great events or battles or famous fairy tales or love songs, things like that, but not a poem about normal poor people in the kingdom.
And especially in those days, the royal families or rich people, they don't like to talk about poor people.
They weren't really interested.
No, they don't want to hear about it. It's almost like they don't even want to see that it exists.
They lived in separate worlds.
So when they heard this poem about poor people, of course, a room full of princes and the royal family, they were surprised. So what does it mean to be surprised? It is an event or a situation that is very shocking or unexpected to people.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I have an example here.
Okay.
Allison was so surprised when Matt got down on his knees. It turned out he was tying his shoelaces.
Not asking her to marry him.
No. So Allison was surprised.
And not in a good way. All right, well, here's a surprise. It's time for a break. It's probably not a surprise, but we will be back after a break. After that, the princes left. The queen asked the poet to go too, because he wasn't good for the princess. That was the truth. The poet knew it, so he left. The poet went far away. He told people a new poem. It was about his love for the little blind princess. Okay, we're still at the palace, and our young, ugly, but very talented poet has just read a poem about poor people to the king, the queen, all the princes, and the princess who were all there in the palace, and they were surprised to hear a poem about poor people. Who cares about poor people? We want to hear a poem about war or love or battles or something. but they heard a poem about poor people. So what happened? Well, after that, the princes left. Oh my goodness. I wonder if it's because they didn't like the poem, or maybe it was just time to go home. But these 45 princes, who were also poets, were there to meet the beautiful princess. But after hearing the poem about poor people, they all went home. Okay? The queen asked the poet to go too, because he wasn't good for the princess. They don't want the princess to know about poor people in the kingdom. Oh, that's scary because it's true. But I guess they're trying to protect their daughter, and they think this poem will be, bad for her to learn from, to spend time with, and especially to marry. So get out of here, you young poet. We don't want you here.
Well, it's not very fair to the poet because they know nothing about him, right? And especially, he still has a lot to show. But since the queen said that the poet was not good for the princess, she asked the poet to leave.
Yes.
And that was the truth. The poet knew it, so he left.
Interesting.
So the poet also believed that he wasn't good enough to be with this princess, that he wasn't good enough to marry her.
Or also he knows that for her to know about the real things in the kingdom, like poor people, would make it difficult for her to be a princess.
That's the truth too. So what is it to be truthful? The truth, in this case, is a noun. It is the quality in a person, a fact or a principle of being true. So the actual facts about something. So for example, Shane took the last cookie that was meant for Jocelyn, but he couldn't keep it a secret anymore. He told Jocelyn the truth. Jocelyn, I'm sorry I ate your cookie.
It's true. He did eat the cookie. It's not a lie. It's not a joke. Those are true facts. I agree. All right, so what happened? The poet left the palace, and it says the poet went far away. So not only did he leave the princess and the palace, it sounds like he left that town or city and traveled to other parts of the land. So he traveled far away. He told people a new poem. So while he was there or while he was traveling, he's writing a new poem in his mind. What is this one about? It was about his love for the little blind princess.
Wow.
Oh, so that might be the truth too. And of course, as he's traveling, he's telling people this story. They're probably falling in love with this story and the romance. And I guess as long as he stays far away from the palace and the princess, this might be okay. But he could get in trouble for telling this poem too.
But does that mean he has to love her from far away?
Maybe he might want to. It might be safer that way.
That's really sad.
It is sad, you're right.
To be far away means to be very distant from someone or from a place. And it could be somewhere very remote as well. So it could be a place that doesn't have, for example, 7-Eleven or Family Mart nearby.
Gosh. Where are we, on the moon?
It's so far away.
Far away.
So, for example, the Crystal Palace was in the faraway land of Andarna. So the prince had to travel months to visit the princess.
Wow.
To ask her for her hand in marriage.
He should buy a car.
They didn't have cars back then.
That's true, they probably didn't. So there we have it. We have a poet who's traveling in the land with his new poem, but it's kind of heartbreaking because it's about his love for the blind princess, a princess and a love that he might never ever get to really have as his own. I'm already sad and it's only the end of day 2. What's gonna happen in day 3? The happy ending?
It's okay, we're gonna find out more.
It is a fairy tale. There could be a happy ending. Let's hope. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, we hope as well. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. In the palace, the king and queen were with 45 other poets. They were actually princes, and they hoped to marry the princess. The poet told them a poem about the poor, and everyone was surprised. After that, the princes left. The queen asked the poet to go too, because he wasn't good for the princess. That was the truth. The poet knew it, so he left. The poet went far away. He told people a new poem. It was about his love for the little blind princess.
Hello, I'm Tina. 我们来看这一课的重点单字。第一个 prince 名词王子。The prince wore a golden crown on his head. 这位王子戴着一顶金色的皇冠。Crown 指的是皇冠。下一个单字 marry 动词和谁结婚嫁娶。Patrick married Laura 2 years ago. Patrick 2年前和 Laura 结婚了。下一个单字 surprised 形容词感到惊讶的。I'm surprised to see you here. 我真没想到会在这里看到你。下一个单字 truth 名词事实实情。Was Jenny telling the truth? Jenny 讲的是事实吗？接着我们来看重点文法。第一个 somebody hopes to 加动词，某人希望怎么样。Hope 是期望的意思。我们来看看这个例句。Penny hopes to study abroad one day. Penny 盼望有朝一日能出国读书。下一个文法 the poor 穷人。Poor 指的是贫穷的。The 加上形容词表示特定某族群。例如 the rich 指的是有钱人 ，the young 指的是年轻人。我们来看看这个例句。The rich often buy expensive cars and houses. 有钱人经常购买昂贵的汽车和房屋。最后一个文法 far away 很远的 ，far 遥远的和 away 去别处都是副词。我们来看看这个例句。The beach is far away from our house, so we have to drive there. 海滩离我们家很远，所以我们必须开车去。以上就是这一课的重点单词跟文法，我们下一课再见，拜拜。
So what's new on Instagram?
I'm just looking for some inspiration.
It's a what?
Inspiration. It's like motivation, but for fitness.
Okay. Today we're going to talk about a new term called fitspiration.
What's fitspiration?
Fitspiration is a combination of two words, fitness and inspiration. It's used to describe things that inspire us to get fit. This could be a picture, a quote, a person, or even a story.
I see. So if I follow fitness bloggers or influencers on social media, they are my fitspiration, right?
That's correct. You can use it in a sentence like, I need some fitspiration to get me to the gym today.
Great. I'm going to find my fitspiration and stay motivated to work out.
That's the spirit. Remember, it's all about maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
All right. And that's all for today.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.